Hi, for this mini bean stitch blanket, I used Bernat Blanket yarn. It's a super bulky 6-weight yarn in vintage white, stormy green, and terracotta rose. I also used a 10mm crochet hook for the whole blanket. Hope you enjoy it. Okay, let's get started on this mini bean stitch blanket. I love it, love it. It's very simple, works up very quickly. You're going to chain any even number, which is a multiple of 2. Come into the second chain from the hook, not this one, but this one. You can go into just the chain if you want to. This is nice thick yarn and it'll be okay. I still like to use the back bump, which means I turn it over and find that line right there. I go in there and I'm going to make a single crochet. We're going to do single crochet all the way across. Yarn over, pull through those 2 loops. There's your next chain. It's going to want to turn over and you'll just kind of naturally see those horizontal bars there. But if you get lost, turn it back over and find your chain. There's another single crochet. I just did a chain of 16 here because it fits in my frame pretty well. I chained 86 for a 40-inch wide blanket, and it ended up using 3 skeins of the vintage white and 1 skein each of the stormy green and the terracotta rose. I can think of so many different color combinations. I will definitely make these as gifts because they're very, very pretty. It's a pretty stitch, nice texture, and it's easy. I really like it. In this particular yarn, the Bernat Blanket, I made a rug, a bathroom rug, with the full bean stitch in Bernat Forever Fleece. I have a video of that if you want to check out my videos. You can click on my little pink logo there. Remember, if you get lost, come back and find the next chain, turn it over, find your horizontal bar. I decided to go with the mini bean stitch for this blanket. I didn't want it to be quite as thick as that rug, and it saves a lot of yarn. It's just 1 less loop for each stitch, but that adds up. Saves a whole lot of yarn. The bean stitch can be a bit of a yarn eater, but it's so pretty. This one wasn't bad though. Okay, there's my last stitch. You can either go in the back bump or go through the chain in the front on this last one if you like. It should be looking something like this. Now we're going to start on the bean stitch portion. Once you do the bean stitch portion, this is going to be row 2. Once you get to row 3, that's going to be your repeat. If you want to, just to kind of get rid of your tail here, you can bring that into your chain. Chain 1, get through and just hide it when we get into our next stitches. So we did a chain 1 and turn. We're going to do 4 rows of the mini bean stitch. So we're going to single crochet in that very first stitch, not the chain, but this very first stitch here. You'll see like a V there. That was your single crochet. So single crochet into your very first stitch. You're going to skip a stitch. I'm just bringing this along and crocheting over it. So skip this stitch because now we're going to start making a little bit of a zigzag angled stitch. You're going to, don't yarn over, just go into the stitch. Remember, skip this stitch, go in here and bring it through. That was one. Now you're going to yarn over, go in that very same stitch that you just came out of. Pull it up even. That was 2. Now you have 4 loops on your hook. 1, 2, 3, 4. And you're going to pull through. I like to say 1, 2, pull through, chain. That chain locks it in. Okay. Now we're going to skip 1 stitch and we're going to make our bean stitch. 1, yarn over, go in that same stitch. 2, now you have 4 loops on your hook. Pull through, 1, 2, pull through, and chain. That's what I told myself throughout this whole blanket. 1, 2, pull through, chain. All right, skip the next stitch. 1, gives you 2 loops. Yarn over, go in that very same stitch. Pull through, 2, you have 4 loops on your hook. It's hard to see with this hook, I'm sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's my new favorite 10mm tulip brand. Pull through, chain. That's why you're skipping one. You have that chain there. We won't be doing that in row 3 and the rest of the rows. So skip 1, come into this next stitch, pull through, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through all 4 of those loops, and chain 1. Skip 1. It gets super easy after this row. Pull through, yarn over, go through that same stitch, grab some more yarn here, yarn over, pull through all 4 loops, and chain 1. Skip 1, 1, yarn over, same, 2, 4 loops, pull through, chain 1, skip 1, and we're going to single crochet in that very last stitch, and chain 1, and turn. So you can see how that's starting to angle right there. All right, row 3. This is the repeat row. We're going to repeat this throughout. Even after we change colors, it's all the same. Single crochet in the first stitch. Now, we're actually skipping a stitch, but it's even easier than that. Just go through this space to the left of your mini bean stitch. Right there, not this one. Right here. And make a mini bean stitch. Pull through, 1, yarn over, go in that same space. You have 4 loops, pull through, yarn over, and chain 1. And that's what we're going to do all the way to the end of the row. I'm going to continue a little bit with you, but I need to pull some more yarn. I'm hoping that the pictures show the colors accurately, but just in case, because some of my pictures look a little more vibrant than what the color actually is. So that's why I wore this sweater. This is kind of a deep pumpkin color. This is the terracotta rose. It's really pretty. All right, back to our pattern. Come to that space that's just to the left of this bean stitch right there. Go in 1, that gives you 2 loops, yarn over, go in that same space, pull through, gives you 4 loops, yarn over, pull through, chain 1. So do that all the way across. You can see how it's zigzagging. It just ends up so pretty, and my goodness, is it easy. The very last stitch is going to be a single crochet. I will meet you there. All right, I'm at the end of the row. I'm just gonna cut my tail there. Be careful not to cut into your crochet. Be very, very careful with that. And the last stitch will be a single crochet into that single crochet. You know it's a single crochet because it looks like a little V. Let's see, let me focus that a little bit better. There's your single crochet at the end. That is an extreme close-up. Chain 1. And again, row 3 is your repeat all the way across. So now we have 1, 2 rows of the mini bean stitch. We're going to do 4 rows total in the vintage white, and then we're going to switch over to color B. For me, it's the stormy green. Like I said, this would be so pretty in holiday colors or school team colors, fall colors, spring colors. All right, I'll meet you back here when I have 4 of the mini bean stitch. Okay, I am at the end of my row 4 of bean stitches. I'm not counting the first row. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I started a single crochet in that last single crochet, that V stitch there, but I'm not going to finish it because I want to start with my next color, which is stormy green. It's a really, really dark green. Very pretty. I'm going to go ahead and cut my color A. I'm going to bring that through. I don't want to have to come back and weave in ends. So I am going to take a smaller hook and just weave through. And let me focus in. Sorry, my recording skills are not that great. I'm just going to weave through a couple of times, 3 stitches. That helps to lock this in, and then I can cut that when I'm coming back. All right. So I have my 2 stitches there where I started a single crochet. Give yourself a little bit of a tail, start your new color, and pull it through. You're going to chain 1, oops, pull both the tail and the working yarn through. Hello, I need a bigger loop. Okay, and find your tail, pull that through. We're going to lock that in just a minute because I don't like weaving in ends. All right, find your first stitch. It's right here. Single crochet. Pull that through. We're going to come in right next to that, to the left of that mini bean stitch, right in that space, make another mini bean stitch. Yarn over, going through that same stitch. Now here's where we're going to lock in that tail with my color B. Wrap it around, pull both of those through all 4 loops. Pull your tail through. That's going to be pretty locked in there. Chain 1, and you can just cut that. We'll do one more and I'll cut this as well. Again, mini bean stitch. 1, 2, pull through, chain. That's what I told myself over and over and over again. I'm just going to cut these while I'm thinking about it. Make sure you don't get too close to your stitches. These have not come out of my other blanket. It's been bounced around quite a bit. That's what it's going to look like as you change colors. So you're going to do the same thing. It's a repeat of row 3. 1, 2, pull through, chain 1. Go all the way to the end of your row. The last stitch will be a single crochet again, chain 1 and turn, and then you're going to do another row of color B. I'll meet you when I'm finished with my second row of color B. All right, I'm at the end of my second row of the mini bean stitch. Isn't that pretty? In the stormy green color B, whatever your color B is. There, wherever you see this V, that's my last single crochet. Go into that, begin a single crochet. Don't pull through those loops. We're going to cut, leave yourself a little bit of a tail. Cut color B. Seems like a lot of work at the end of the rows, but it saves you some time in the long run. I feel like it does. And I don't have to go back and mess with ends, tails. So pull that through. Make sure you go back into your two loops. Pull up your color A again. We're going to do another 4 rows of color A. I'm going to put up a chart of the pattern that I used, how many rows of how many of each of the colors. It's also on my written pattern. All my patterns are free without ads at www.i-crochet.com. Okay, bring both pieces through and find your tail. Pull that through because you're going to lock it in just a minute. And turn. You do not have to weave this in. You can just work over it if you want to, but I like to weave it in. 1 loop of the stitch, 1 loop on that side, and then the opposite loop on this side. I find that if I do this, even after I wash and dry it, it stays in really nicely. 3 or 4, and it doesn't affect the pattern at all. And you can just cut it. If you want to, you can loop it around and knot it right there, but I've done it both ways and it doesn't seem to make a difference. Oh, one less step. All right, bring your tail around. We're going to loop that in. Find your first single crochet, that V stitch. We're going to make a single crochet. Again, it's just all row 3 now, a repeat of row 3. Come over to the space to the left of your bean stitch right there. One, yarn over, go in the same space. 2, you have 4 loops on your hook. Bring your tail through now. See? You're bringing all that through.
And you're going to pull the tail through and lock it in with that chain. Yep, continue on. There's your tail there. Mini bean stitch all the way across. Chain 1. I'll go ahead and clip off my tails there. I can't stress enough. I'd rather leave the tail too long than to cut into my crochet, because that would be sad if you cut one of your stitches. All right, go all the way across. Start 4 rows of the mini bean stitch in color A. When you get to the end of the 4th row, start a single crochet, but don't pull all the way through. We're going to switch over to color C after this. All right, I will meet you back after 4 rows of color. All right, I've reached the end of my 4 rows of bean stitch in the color A. So 4 rows, 2 rows, 4 rows. Excuse me. You can see how nice that edge is, and also the sides. It does not require a border at all. I'm not going to put one on. I might possibly make some pom-poms to go on the corners. I haven't decided. I saw a cute pattern for making floral pom-poms. That's an idea. All right, so here's your final single crochet of that 4th row. Begin your single crochet. You always begin and end with a single crochet. I'm going to give myself a little bit of a tail there. And now I get to start on color C. So it's the same stitch throughout, but because you get to keep changing colors, it keeps it from being boring. Anyone who's seen my videos knows that I don't like to use either all one color in one stitch or all the same stitch with no breaks. I just like something different. All right, we're going to bring in color C. Pull through. Make a chain with your working yarn and your tail. Find your tail. And pull it through. And we're going to lock that in just a minute. In the meantime, you can do this after you turn or before you turn, it doesn't matter. Remember, I'm going into just one of the loops of the stitch. You can do this with the needle if you want to. I tend to, for some reason, not have a needle handy. I need to look at what I'm doing and not look at the screen. That confuses my hand, my brain. All right, that's plenty. All right, I'm going to turn. As I said, 86 chains. Got me a 40-inch wide blanket. And if you follow the pattern that I made, it'll be 60 inches long, which is perfect for the end of a queen size bed, which is 60 inches wide. All right, we're going to come into that very first. Let's find your V. Single crochet, pull that tail around. And a single crochet, because every row begins and ends. Pull your tail with a single crochet. Now, same thing. Right next to the mini bean stitch, we're going to make another one. Coming over that tail. Go into that same stitch, pull up. Make sure you're pulling up. Pulling your loop up even with the other ones, or it'll get too tight. Bring your tail in. Once we're going to pull through the loops. The reason I like to bring it through right now is because then when I make that chain, I feel like it's really in there. And it is, because if you try to take out a stitch, you'll have to work at it a little bit. All right, continue on. We're working over the previous color. Pull that up. I'd rather have this up a bit and this one a little bit tight so that you don't end up with big gaps in between. Pull through, chain one. Again, we're going to have 2 rows of color C. And then we're going to switch back to color A for another 4 rows. I think I'll stop here. If you have any questions, write them in the comments, please. I'll get back to you just as quickly as I can. And as I said, I will put a link to my pattern, and I will also put the chart up in the video here somewhere. I hope you like it. I absolutely love it. It's very, very soft, very cushy. Love the texture of that mini bean stitch. You could certainly go for a bean stitch if you wanted to. It just takes more yarn. All the bean stitches is one more. Let me show you if you wanted to make a bean stitch. It's the same exact thing, except instead of having 4 loops, you would do this one more time and you would have 6 loops. And it would be super thick, and you just don't really need it that thick with this type of yarn. All right, I hope you enjoy it. I enjoyed making it. My husband was shocked at how quickly I made it. I worked on it here and there, and I think it was like a day and a half. I'm just working on it sometimes. I don't know how many hours I put into it, but it wasn't much, and it was just a pleasure to work on it. Between the yarn and the colors, I loved working on this. I hope you do too. Thanks a lot, and I'll post another video. Okay, I was taking out this yarn to show you how to do the last row, and I just want to show you that's locked in. That's not going anywhere. All right, I'll be right back. So I'm going to show you how to do the final row to make it look as close as possible to the beginning row. Be right back. Okay, this would be our last row of the blanket. 1, 2, 3, 4 rows of the mini bean stitch in the color A. And chain 1. It's just a knot where I had to go back and join my yarn. All right, we have our chain 1. We're going to skip this first stitch, go into the back loop only of each stitch with a slip stitch. And you won't have that knot like I did. It's just because I had already cut my yarn. So that's what it's going to look like. Very, very close to what the beginning or initial row 1 looked like. Very close. You could do a single crochet if you want to, but I felt like it was a little bit too loose. What made it tighter at the beginning was because we went into that back bump. If yours looks a little bit looser on that beginning row, then do single crochets here, but just make sure you go into the back loop only. That's what brings forward this stitch here, like here. All right, and we're just going to go all the way to the end of the row with your back loop only, slip stitch, or as I said, single crochet if you prefer. And in the very last stitch, you can judge for yourself if you want to go in the back loop or the full loop when you get there. I'm going to find the end of that corner there. Do a slip stitch. All right, it looks very, very similar. So just fasten off. I'm not going to do a border, as I said. you could do, just pull that through, tighten it up, and go ahead and weave in either with a small crochet hook or a needle, in and out a couple of times. It's not going anywhere, I promise. It took me a while to get out the stitches that I had joined at the ends there. They are locked in if you do it the way that I showed you. It's just that knot. You won't have that. All right, if you have any questions, leave it in the comments. Appreciate all your feedback, and I'll see you at the next video. Thank you.